Hi, everyone. Just to make sure that the podcast remains a safe space for everyone, I wanted to jump in and let you know that there is talk of suicide in this episode.
I do not subscribe to the idea that everything happens for a reason, because I think that's really can be a very hurtful thing actually to say to somebody who's going through, the depths of awful life stuff or mental health stuff. However, I do think you can create purpose from anything.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jodie Richardson, and you're listening to Well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Hello, welcome back to another episode. Today's guest, she's just an absolute gem, and I've been so looking forward to having this time to talk with the wonderful Jenny Wynter. Jenny and I first met, and little did we know our paths would cross again, actually. We first met when we both attended a Professional Speakers Australia convention in March of 2020. And as professional speakers, we earn a living and we get so much, it's so rewarding for us. And we love to give and share of ourselves and what we know by being in front of audiences. And that was the weekend. It was Friday the 13th of March. I remember the conference began, and that was the day that all the cancellations started coming through. So we were there at a convention to help us all know how to work better and to connect and to lift our game and have that professional development. But it was a really great weekend for us to all support each other and to work out how we're going to cope with what the world is throwing at us at the moment. So Jenny was the winner of the incredibly inspiring Kerry Nan Award at that event. And our paths crossed again at the Mompreneur Conference, which was in September of this year. And at this particular conference, Jenny, who is so well-deserving and has international awards as well, she won the Big Idea Award at the Mompreneur Awards. She's a comedian, she's an author, a speaker. She has won awards for the Best Variety Show in New York and Best Web Series at the Worldwide Women's Film Festival, among many others. She is a TEDx speaker, a passionate mental health advocate, founder of Funny Mummies. So please, we'll talk about that later, but please jump on there as well. It's an online group for improving the mental health of mums through laughter. And there's more to Jenny's story, but we're going to unpack that as we talk throughout this episode. So Jenny, thank you so much for joining us from sunny Queensland. Hopefully it's sunny. I don't know. Is it sunny?
Thanks so much, Jodie. It is sunny. It's sunny with some clouds, so we're hoping that the storms hold off, but I cannot complain. Very good. Thank you for having me.
So look, we did meet that day. I remember actually, I think we were in Dale Beaumont's session and we sat together and got chatting, and we since have connected at the Mompreneur Conference, and you were just such a wonderful MC, hilarious and so inspiring, because you also shared more about yourself, and I remember you announced that you were sharing openly about things you'd never spoken about. And it got me thinking about your TED Talk. So Jenny's TED Talk is heartwarming, it's moving, it's funny, it's so relatable, and it's a TED Talk with a message that we all could benefit from adopting in ways beyond our imagination. And the title of the TED Talk is Forget the Brace Position. And in the TED Talk, you talk a lot about bracing yourself. And I love the metaphor. I mean, you're so right. Like, maybe tell us a little bit about it, because I won't do it justice. And then tell us a little bit about how you're able to sort of change tack and unbrace and adopt a new way of approaching your work and your life and your comedy as well.
Absolutely. So I think the thing you're probably alluding to is the idea that when you're sitting on the plane and they do these safety talks, and one of the things they say is, if in the case of an emergency, adopt the brace position. And I've always thought really, like, would that actually help? I think if anything, maybe it makes you feel a little bit more safe in that moment, like you're doing something. But I think the reality of it is, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So for me, when I was 5 years old, my mum, who was a single mum, and she very, very suddenly died. And there was no lead up to it. She had an aneurysm. It was just one of those things, totally random. And then my little sister and I went to live with our grandma. And so our grandma raised us. So she became essentially our mum. And the thing was, because she was quite old, she had the full-on white curly cotton wool hair, and we were surrounded by all of her beautiful friends, but they were all really old as well. So I felt like I constantly had these visual reminders that death was nearby. I'd already realized, like way younger than I think most people do, that life is absolutely finite, that it can be cut short at any time. And it really led to me just adopting the brace position, really. Emotionally, I was always just guarding myself. I was like hyper vigilant, looking at, is my grandma, like, is she coughing? Is she feeling sick? I would like lie in bed and memorize the last words she'd said to me before I'd go to bed. Like, it was just always fearing what would happen. Like, if she died, where would we go? What would we do? It was just, relentless, like just relentless. But the crazy thing is, she lived for 3 decades. So I had so long. I just was in that, that sort of, anxiety riddled state for such a long time. And it didn't end up happening. And, there's probably a lot to say there about the idea of bracing yourself gives you that semblance of control that, maybe because I was so worried she lived that long, which of course we know is rubbish. That's not true. And it was years later when she was 90. She got to 90, which is unbelievable. And we found out that, it was going to be the last chapter for her, because she'd already had cancer twice. She'd beaten it and it had come back, and she was just like, I'm 90, I'm good, I'm done. So she was very at peace with the fact that she was going to die. And so at the time I'd literally just moved down to Melbourne to really go hard on comedy and just go, no, I'm taking it seriously. This is where all the TV stuff is. And then it was about 3 months later that mum, I call her mum, got really sick. And so we ended up moving all the way back to Queensland, and I quit comedy, and I was her carer for that last couple of months of her life. And it was so incredible. And it really, it shifted my relationship, certainly to comedy and the importance of that in my life. And it shifted my relationship with my own identity, definitely with my family, definitely with her. But the biggest thing I think was that connection with bracing, because this was it. Like, after all my decades of waiting and being terrified that she was going to die, when it finally came down to it, we were just so open with each other, and just nothing was left unsaid. I'm so grateful, because I know not everybody has that opportunity. But looking after her and having that amazing connection at the end was so incredible. And I guess that's where I realized I wasn't bracing myself. I wasn't, fearing the end. It was very much like, this is beautiful. This is how it should be. We're so lucky we get to have this amazing experience with her. And it's since that time. I remember after she died, actually, I once the dust had settled a little bit, and I was thinking, okay, do I get back to comedy now? But then that just felt really shallow. I just sort of felt like, I've just looked after mum, and that was so profound. And now am I just going to go stand on stage and make people laugh? It just felt a bit, I don't know, not very important. And then completely coincidentally, just one of those things where stars aligned, I saw an ad for a clown doctor. And in Brisbane here, they were hiring somebody to come on board as the new clown doctor. And so basically they hire performers, but they train you in the hospital setting. So you're going in and working mainly with children, I was, and just providing some relief, like you're bringing in some light relief for them, often distraction during medical procedures. And it just was such a powerful, life-changing job, because you got to see right up close, like, first of all, the impact that laughter can have in terms of changing the mood and shifting the trajectory of someone's day, especially when it's so dark. So it really, shifted for me, I guess, that the focus of comedy is no longer me, look at me in the spotlight. It's much more, even now when I do comedy that's not in a hospital, it's very much I'm focused on the audience and where are they ticklish and where can I move to for them. Like it's not like I'm Mother Teresa, but it's just shifted now. So it's more about what's that impact rather than when do I get my TV spot?
Yeah.
And so I guess this is such a long-winded reply.
No,
I guess
it's beautiful. Go, continue.
I guess it just like, it made me realize too through the clown doctor work that you have to, we were very, they take their training very seriously. So it's the Humour Foundation organises the clown doctors, and they trained us so much in terms of like having an open heart. So when you walk into a room, you're not having a preconceived notion of what you're going to see. You're very much about being open to the experience and not letting your fear or your discomfort trump what's going on. That's actually not the important bit. That the important thing is the patient and the child and the family. And so again, I guess it's just those little nudges towards going, like if you are in the brace position and you're like holding on in that protective way, trying to stop yourself from feeling bad or from failing or from feeling those feelings that don't feel very good,
yes,
you're actually going to be missing out on so much, and you're going to be robbing other people of your full, everything that you really have to offer. So it's shifted radically for me. And I guess to come back to what you were saying originally, part of that absolutely has led to me wanting to share more openly about my own mental health stuff and how that's affected me and my family. And because I feel like that's where I am in the brace position, that I do hide that stuff because I feel embarrassed or a bit ashamed or a bit, which is insane because I never judge anybody. Like I consider myself a mental health advocate.
Yes.
And yet for some reason I can't give myself that same grace, that I judge myself, which is awful. But again, I guess it's about what's going to trump what in your life. And for me, I really do want to be part of the solution, which is destigmatizing. And so to do that, I have to be willing to push past that discomfort of being open about it. So that's where I've gotten to. It was at the Osmompreneur conference this year. It was the first time I'd sort of said that. I think I joked about it once on stage like 3 years ago, but it was very much a throwaway line. Whereas, actually going, no, this is me. I'm owning it. And of course no one threw tomatoes or came up and went, oh, you. Like it was all like lovely. And so, that's part of me trying to push past that and be more real.
Yes, and you are. And the irony of it is that not only when you're bracing, it's almost like you are prolonging the suffering. You suffered for 3 decades, and that there was a cost to that. It wasn't there because you're disconnected because you're trying to protect yourself. And
massively,
it was beautiful that you were able to let that fall away at the end. And I just implore you to watch Jenny's TED Talk, and I'll put the link in the notes, of course. But when I was watching it, I was also really loving the way that you're able to use humour to take the audience sort of with you to hear a really difficult story about your experiences, but then also have that light relief so that we can sort of go, oh, I'm okay. It's such a skill to have that sort of light and shade. And I think it enables you to touch people and change people because you are open to sharing, but you've got that beautiful way of sort of lightening it off at just the right time, so skillfully, which means that people don't walk away feeling like, heavy. They feel inspired and uplifted, and you've given them something really powerful to think about. And I applaud you for that. And I just think it is just masterful. And being in the audience with you and seeing you in your element was, yeah, just joyful. And at that time, you were able to share some more about your own personal mental health story. And I'd love to invite you to share a little bit with us today, please.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, it's one of those things. I look back on my whole life and I think, like, the first time I remember writing in my diary that I was like wanting to kill myself, I was 11.
Mm.
And, it's hard to sort of isolate things, isn't it? Because there was obviously the trauma of my mum's loss. And as well, I think because I was a grieving child, I found it really hard to make friends at first. Like, it
Yeah.
just, that took time. And yeah, so I remember that. I remember plenty of times of feeling really depressed, but I was amazing at hiding it.
Mm.
And I was an incredibly, like, a compulsive overachiever, compulsively over it. Like,
You still
all
are.
those, I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I say it like I've worked through it. No, I haven't at all. But yeah, and which is interesting because I've since found out that's actually pretty textbook for a lot of people that have lost a parent at an early age, is kind of this overachieving thing because you want to feel like you can control something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but the thing was, I felt like nobody actually really knew me, because even though by the end of high school, I had so many beautiful friends, I was school captain, I was, doing all these different things, and I felt like I was quite well liked by people, but I didn't feel like anyone really knew me, because there was this whole other side of me that no one saw, which was, just deep, dark depression.
Mm.
And I was never like diagnosed or anything. I mean, this is back in the 90s. It's hard to even explain to my kids now. Like, we didn't even really talk about mental health. It was, you're either in the loony bin or you're not. That was it, And so, yeah, it wasn't even something that was on my radar. And it was about, I can't even remember how old I would have been, probably 30 or so. And my sister had been traveling overseas, and one of her friends over there had been diagnosed with bipolar. And she said to me, oh my gosh, like, he reminds me so much of you, Jen. Like honestly. And she didn't mean sort of personality, she meant mood.
Yes.
And I know,
yes.
certainly when I heard about like Stephen Fry, when he's been very vocal about his bipolar journey, that's absolutely resonated with me. And like Robin Williams, that whole manic super, all the brain bits are firing on all cylinders, and yet this also, I can't get out of bed. Like, that really
Yes.
made a lot of sense to me. So and then it was in 2014. So that was the year that my mum died.
Yeah.
And I'd also gotten divorced that year and had to move interstate twice with my kids. And it was just all an absolute mess. And so I really did it was just this perfect storm of everything compounding. And then just my kids were really struggling too, like with their, emotional regulation. And it was just all too much. And there was one day I was in at the hospital with one of my kids in emergency, and we had been in emergency so many times for mental health stuff. And I don't want to sort of go into those details because it's not just my story to tell.
Yes.
But suffice to say, we'd been in there a lot. It had been a nightmare, and we're in there again. And one of the doctors recognized me because I'd been in this so freaking often. And I just couldn't stop crying. Like, I wasn't even sobbing. It was just tears were just coming out. Like, it was like a tap was on. Like, there was no sobbing. It was just cry, cry, cry. And anyway, she came in and took me aside, and she said, we're actually really worried about you. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, just take care of them. And I remember other times I'd be on the phone to emergency when stuff was happening at home with kids, and they'd be saying, we're really worried about you. And again, it just didn't compute to me that I was actually really nosediving as well. So anyway, at the emergency ward, this doctor said, I hope you're okay with this. I'd really like to get some people down here just to talk to you and assess you. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. And then, so then I ended up being admitted to hospital. So then I was in hospital for about 5 days, and the shame that I felt, like it was just complete shame of being in this. I can't even say sterile, because it looked sterile, but it felt dirty. It felt dirty being in this place, and I just thought, what am I even doing here? And it was scary, and just this feeling of, oh my God, I cannot believe that I've been admitted into a mental health ward, like just complete disbelief. But the amazing thing was, there were 2 friends of mine who I hadn't spoken to in months, not because anything bad had happened, but, life gets busy and you just don't chat.
Yeah.
And so I texted both of them completely out of the blue and just said, look, I'm in hospital, da-da-da. They were up there immediately with care packs, like brought me all these beautiful books and magazines and chocolate, and like just, it just made me realize, gosh, you can hide this stuff away. But the second that you're open about it, even to that extent, just a text, that the people that love you really want to be there for you, and anyone that doesn't, if they have judgment, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It's so irrelevant. It's like, again, what trumps what? Like, the love and care that people that are good have for you, you're really robbing them of that opportunity to be there for you if you just shut it down. So, yeah. And again, so I have not spoken about that. There's honestly a handful of people, even in my circle, that kind of know all of that stuff.
Yes.
So, but I want to be more open about it, because I would never judge anyone for being in hospital. I would never, it's like you do what you do so that you can stay safe. And by the time I left that hospital, you don't, my experience was, I didn't get treatment in hospital. I didn't walk out having had catharsis through therapy, like nothing, nothing like that at all. Like, I felt like
it's just the beginning, isn't it?
Completely. Really at that point, it's purely about you're alive. It's just keeping you safe, keeping you alive, stopping you from doing anything that's, a permanent solution to, a tough temporary situation. But by the time I walked out of there, I had support in place. And that was the other great thing that happened at the hospital, was they did help me just set up some outer supports, because I was a single mum and I just not had an income while I'd been looking after my grandma, so this financial stress of that too was all so much. But by the time I walked out, I had stuff in place that people, I felt like I wasn't alone by the time I left there. And then since that, I have been diagnosed with bipolar 2. And to be honest, for me, as much as I struggle with the stigma of it, it was personally a relief to go, okay, that all makes sense. Everything makes sense now about who I am, and I'm not just messed up. Okay, tick, 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 that's amazing. And also going, there's people who I admire so much and think are so wonderful and brilliant who are also living with bipolar. And so I don't need to feel that I'm lesser than. It's just what it is.
Yes.
And that's been amazing. And I now, medication has been, a lot of trial and error, but now it's great. And for a long time, I remember when I first started medication, someone said to me, a lovely friend of mine who's so well-intentioned, said, oh, so obviously that's just going to be a temporary thing. And I remember feeling really should it be a temporary thing? And so I tried to come off a few times, and it was always terrible. And I've since gone, you know what? No, because that's keeping me alive. That's keeping me stable. And if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do, And yeah, it bugs me when people are so judgmental about medication, because I think you don't know, unless you are that person, you honestly don't know what is right for them. And just because it's not right for you doesn't mean that it's not a lifesaver for somebody. And sadly, I think because of some of these stigmas, people don't get that help or don't want to do the medication. And then if that ends badly, people are still writing on their Facebook memorial, oh, if only we'd known, what could we have done? But at the same time, you can't do that unless you're willing to completely support whatever path someone's trying to take to help themselves.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm on a rant now, but
you're not ranting at all. You I feel emotional listening to you. I actually feel because it's reminding me of when I was hospitalized for my mental health.
Oh, wow, Jodie. Yeah.
Yeah, and whilst at the time I didn't realize it's a bit of a is it called a guise? I think when a bit of a ruse maybe, but when I look back at when I had our daughter, so I had postnatal depression with both children, and after having our daughter, I just was not coping. I was just terribly depressed and not doing well at all. And for me, it was just if she could just sleep, then I would be okay. And so I ended up going into a mother baby unit thinking this is all about teaching my baby to sleep. It's not about that. It's
Wow.
about giving mothers whose mental health is taking a nosedive, as you so beautifully stated before, a break, a buffer, help, some respite, and it's the beginning then of your mental health treatment. So
Yes.
they take the babies. I thought it was going to be all about we're learning how to pat and settle and the crying mountain, and we're going to be doing this sleep school. This is sleep school in my head. This is what it was all about. And although I knew at the time it was all about our mental health as women, it's not until just now, as you talked about you being hospitalized, that I think it's just brought that back up for me that's what that week was about. And like you, I remember leaving with a prescription for antidepressants, but I was breastfeeding, so I was so torn. And in fact, I opted not to breastfeed. Sorry, opted not to take the medication until I stopped breastfeeding. But yeah, when we get that low, we need something as a circuit breaker. And that's what that was for you, wasn't it? It was a circuit breaker, particularly any parent who is caring for a child that needs psychological support, emergency psychological support frequently, as your child did need at that time. It's just, I think it's just so beautiful that they noticed and stepped in, because sometimes those departments are so frantic. There's barely enough focus on the needs of the patient, let alone the needs of the person caring for the patient. But it sounds like it was a major turning point for you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm so grateful to that doctor. But it's funny because, again, I remember when she would look at me and it felt like pity as she would recognize me walking in yet again. And I was so ashamed. Like, I hated the fact that she was clocking it. But in hindsight, I mean, my gosh, like, yes, that she took the time and she called someone and she could see that our family was in crisis. And these things are an ecosystem. The family is an ecosystem. One person's out of whack, it does affect everybody. And so, yeah, and again, even talking about having a child who's having troubles coping, I'm navigating how much to reveal and how to protect their privacy as well. But I do believe, and I've had conversations with my child about this. They're now over 18, so and might I say, in an incredible place, which I am so happy about.
Yes.
And I want to shout it from the rooftops and go, oh my gosh, to anyone out there, like, there is hope. There is always hope. And I honestly never would have dared imagine that he could get to where he is now. Like, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to me. And he's done a lot of hard work to get there.
Yeah.
But so we've talked about this, about how open to be about it, because I know for me as his mother, it was so lonely. It was so incredibly isolating to feel like you're the only person in the world that's having this kind of experience. And that's just not true, because, having spoken to professionals and emergency services, there are so many people having these kinds of issues. Obviously, they're all nuanced and have their own presentation and stuff. But I remember thinking, where are these people? Because, and I think the thing is that we as parents, like, don't want to be open about that stuff, because, again, there's so much stigma and shame. And, when I'm saying there's stigma and shame around mental illness, you multiply that by the parenting thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the judgment. I mean, my gosh, like that's why we're not open about it, because you're just dreading the well-intended sometimes, but like advice on, well, they just need a good blah, 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 or you've just created that problem, rather than going, well, actually, again, like unless you've experienced this, you really don't know that. Like it's so much more complicated than just parenting is 1 + 1 = 2. That's not true. So yeah, anyway, it's something, I guess, again, without delving too much into his story, but I do want to share more openly about the fact that's been my family's experience, because again, even though I'm afraid to, but what's trumping that is just wanting to help other people feel a bit less alone. And if someone out there, even listening to this, is feeling alone and isolated, that you actually are not alone, and that there is hope. And as I said, never could have dared dream that we would see light at the end of this tunnel, but we absolutely have, and it's taken a long time. But my gosh, don't give up, because it is possible.
Yes, it's such a powerful message, and there will be people listening who are just struggling so terribly with their own mental health and or the mental health of their children, because we know that when we look at the statistics of the recording of this on the 18th of the 12th in 22, that eating disorder statistics have skyrocketed, and school refusal and behavioural challenges and separation anxiety, and gosh, separation anxiety and high anxiety in toddlers because of the closeness of the connection over the pandemic, depending, of course, on probably where you lived, will determine sort of the severity of the impacts. But yeah, so there's so much challenge, and the stigma. It's interesting because when you used the word shame earlier, I know that feeling. I think we all know that feeling, and I think about Brene Brown, and I know you're a fan too, so I wonder if together we might help define it. But I'm quite sure Brene says that when it comes to that feeling of shame, it's a feeling that you'll somehow be rejected because of what's happened. And whereas your experience, as you've so beautifully shared with us today, and I know it's my experience too, is quite the opposite happens when you do open up, when you take the shame with you if you have to. You don't have to wait till you don't feel that way, but you reach out, you say something. Not everyone's going to be able to cope and connect, but overwhelmingly when we do share that we need help, that's what we get, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And does it mean you won't get judgment as well? Like, of course not. Like, humans are humans. But I think, again, like the people that matter most don't judge you. And, it's worth it. I think it is worth it, so that, that's how we're going to support each other. That's how we're going to not feel alone, is if we can be brave enough to be real about those things. And you're absolutely right, though. It doesn't mean you get past the shame and then you share. Like, I'm still feeling it now, even as we're talking. I'm going, oh gosh, like, do I want to share that? But it's pushing past that. And then when you take that leap, like, I already feel a bit better, right now.
Yes.
Like, so it's important. I think it's important stuff, like, to be willing to be uncomfortable. It's worth it.
I couldn't agree more. And, it was really beautiful of a colleague of mine, a psychologist colleague of mine I've been doing a conference tour. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, which has been amazing. It's been so fabulous. And in that conference tour, and in every location, I had a precious 25 minutes to share about and to share and talk about anxiety. And the very first thing I would do when I would take the stage would be to say, this is as much personal as it is professional for me. What I share with you today are the things that I use, that I teach my children, the most precious people to me, my children, my friends, my family. And what I'm sharing with you today is what's made a profound difference in my life, because I live with anxiety. And I also share that I'm medicated, and that I always will be, because I've done what other people have done, which I think is often the case. We when I became terribly depressed, which was really how my lifetime of anxiety became known. I took antidepressants and then within a couple of months was feeling on top of the world. So I was like, I don't need these anymore. And I weaned myself off and went down into plummeting into a pit and realised, oh, okay, there's work to do here. There's a reason I'm struggling this way. And I decided not to take anything for the next sort of 12 years. And I tried to work through it and figured there'd be some sort of epiphany of this is why you're struggling like this, and never really found, there's lots of things that contribute. That's the thing. There's lots of contributing factors to our mental health. And anyway, so I'm medicated again. Anyway, I would say that on stage and talk. And after one of my presentations, he said to me, "Who looks after you, Jodie?" And I said, what do you mean? I said, I've got family and friends and married, I look after myself. And he's like, "No, who looks after you from a psychological point of view because of the work that you do, because you're sharing?" And in that moment, I sort of felt that real beautiful sense of being nurtured, even just by being asked. But I thought, I'm so used to talking about this, whilst it's uncommon for somebody to take the stage in front of 700 people and say, basically, I live with anxiety, I'm medicated. But for me, I have been doing it for so long, it doesn't feel hard for me to do that anymore. But it was really nice for him to look at that and go, wow, you need supervision.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. That's so lovely, though, that he clocked that. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's interesting because even like clown doctoring, they had like counsellors available to you and the same thing, like, because it can be very heavy going, emotional work at times. So I think doing that kind of work, it really made me realise that self-care as well is not just a nice thing. It's not just a bubble bath every now and then. It's actually like absolutely essential if you're going to do hard things. I think anyway, life is a hard thing. But that changed my whole perspective, I guess, on the role that the hat has to play.
Yes.
And I think that's really interesting what you're saying, because when you are public about it, that can still raise things. I'm really lucky. I have an incredible psychologist who I love so much. But it took a long time to find her, that I think I went through probably 8 different people before I found one that was like, oh my gosh, she's it. Like, she is absolutely my person. So that's the other thing I want to say, like, again, if this is of any use to anybody, but, I think sometimes people try seeing a psychologist or a counsellor or, whatever, and because they don't click with that one, they go, okay, that's not for me then. Therapy's not for me. And I just think it's like friendship. You don't click with every friend. It doesn't mean you go, oh, well, friendship's not for me. You've got to find your people. So that's, again, I would just say, and I mean, my gosh, I say that like it's an easy thing at the moment, which it couldn't be harder to find professionals who are available and good, but just don't write off the whole field just because you haven't clicked with one person. That would be my other tip.
It is such good advice, and kudos to you for persevering, because that's a long road when you need help, and that means getting another referral. It means having that first conversation where you kind of, and they operate in different ways, don't they, different psychologists, but kudos to you. It's such an important message, and like you say, it is hard at the moment. It is harder than it's ever been. That will hopefully change over time, but and even sometimes in between finding the right psychologist, if it's a matter of months, you can go back to your GP. You can use a counselling hotline, which I've used Parent Line so many times, and oh gosh, I've just, even in COVID, here in Melbourne, I just bawling my eyes out, and this beautiful woman on the other end of the line saying, take some breaths, right? Let's just get you right now, so you can please just explain to me what's happening. So I just, and for some who there's a bit of a barrier to entry, sometimes an anonymous phone call is a nice way to sort of realise just how much of a difference it can make to
definitely,
talk
and also
to the right person.
Absolutely. And to know that, you know, you're not going to ring somebody up and they're going to solve all your problems. You know, that's, of course, that's not going to happen. Because I think that sometimes maybe that's what stops people from ringing, because
Yeah.
it's like, well, what difference can it make? You know, things are hard. But it's about having a hand to hold or a friendly person to just be with you. So you're not alone in that moment, you know, because I think sometimes these moments of despair and like the worst of it feels like it's going to be permanent, but it's actually not permanent. It is like weather. And I think that's, as time's gone on for me, when I do have a depression now, even though it still feels like heavy and
Mm.
it's not easy, but I do have most of the time the presence of mind to go, I've been here before, and I haven't stayed there forever, and this is the same. I'm
Yes.
not going to be here forever. It's just, let's lay low till the storm passes, you know. um, doesn't always work. I'm not saying that it's like I've got it all figured out, everybody. But do you know what I mean? So I think that's where calling someone like that, it is just having someone to talk you through kind of your worst moments of the storm, so that you can, yeah, just feel less alone. It's not about solving everything.
That's exactly right. It is. It's so lovely that you're able to touch on that, because I think expectation plays a big part, doesn't it, in these sorts of things, and to just know that it's somebody who's got your back, somebody who will listen without judgment, somebody who can be a safe place to express how you're feeling with, who won't be running away, because it can be frightening sometimes when we're very, very low, for our loved ones to see how sad we can be. And also a different perspective when the fog lifts a bit, when the storm lifts a bit, just the relationship that you develop, they get to know you very, very well. And that different perspective, and just to help you see things and make decisions. And it's, yeah, it's my beautiful psychologist retired. And I was like, no
Oh, that
problem. I'm
hurts.
all good. Like, but oh gosh, I just adore him, and I'm ever so grateful for the years and years and years we had together. And um, yeah, but I do think that it would be something for me. I think it is something that it's about time that I start to sort of seek out somebody else, so I can, but particularly because, like you were saying about being a clown doctor, when I'm presenting, if I'm I'm talking to schools, talking to parents, I'm always hearing very, very challenging stories and experiences that families and schools are going through with young people who are struggling. And people like us, we care a lot, don't we? And so,
Being
but
an empath's a beautiful thing, but it does take a toll though as well. Yeah. It's like
yes,
you
yeah,
do have to, yeah, I think you have to be vigilant about it so that you can keep doing that wonderful work.
yes, that's right. So, tell us, what is your experience of bipolar like, in terms of if you are up and down? How long do they last? Is it something that is changeable? So what's sort of like life like for you living with bipolar?
Oh gosh, it changes a lot. It
Mm.
changes a lot. And for me, keeping busy is probably a way of staving off the depression as well. So for me, like when I'm in a higher mood, I actually enjoy it, and I know that's not unusual. Like I can get so much done. I'm hyper focused. My brain is racing at a million miles a minute, which I love, because creatively it means I can write lots. If I'm on stage can really actually trigger quite a manic version of me sometimes.
Okay.
Not always, but sometimes. Like sometimes I've noticed myself and gone, okay, I've got to try and deliberately slow down here, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, and I'd say I probably, oh look, it really does depend actually. I was going to say I probably tend more towards the highs, but that's probably just more recently. I think it's always changing.
Yes.
And then a crash and burn can come kind of out of the blue. But it's interesting. The comedian Sarah Silverman once, I don't think she's bipolar, but I think she's struggled with depression. But I know that she described it as feeling like a flu is coming on. You know how you can just start to feel when you're about to get sick? And
Yes.
that I absolutely, now that I pay more attention, or if I'm paying attention, I can actually feel the start of a depression coming. And so if I can catch it early enough and do some of those self-care things, and again, this is not foolproof, but
Yes.
sometimes if I can catch it early and I can get myself out into nature, or just go and change the circuit a bit and jump in some water, or just do some things that are really good for me,
Yeah.
then sometimes I can stave it off, which is great. But that doesn't always work. And for me, it's deep sadness, kind of inertia, being just wanting to crawl up into bed and not get out, and just feeling perpetual overwhelm, like a failure, like and the suicidal thoughts. I think the thing that's always stopped me, and I know not everybody has this, but the thing that has always stopped me from actually doing anything to end my life is my kids, because I know the pain. Like, I know that isn't a forever thing, that I know the agony of losing your mother, and I cannot do it to them. Like, I actually feel like I'd be murdering my family.
Oh,
I
Jen.
know that's a very dark way to put it, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
even as dark as things have gotten, I cannot cross that line
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
So, in some ways that's really, safe. That's a safety mechanism for
It
me.
is.
Yeah. But I
It,
also have, like, my husband's amazing. Like, he's incredibly, like, good at spotting the signs as well, and going, okay, let's get out of here. Let's go do something. But, none of it's foolproof, but it's just learning through experience, I suppose. And yeah, and as I said, like, just remembering that it is actually temporary, as much as it sucks at the time and you don't feel like it is, but actually remembering it actually is. It will change, because life changes. It's inevitable.
yes. Yes. It's I think that idea that it won't always be like this is something to really hold on to, and the willingness to actually experience how we feel does help us move through more quickly. And we're not talking minutes or hours necessarily. Sometimes it can be days or weeks, can't it? But the more we're willing to experience what we feel, but also take care of ourselves and do the things that make a difference for us. I do remember my psychologist saying, I remember just being so depressed and just feeling so hopeless, that deep, deep sadness, and him saying to me, you have experienced the worst sadness that a person can ever feel. It won't ever be worse than this. And it was
Yeah.
such an interesting thing for him to say, because it almost helped me feel better prepared for life, because he kind of, because there's like that brace position, like you braced yourself for that, because you experienced such deep pain and the agonizing pain of losing a parent, and then gosh, I'm never going through this again, that guard, that armor.
Yeah.
And yet you too have, and most people listening, we've not everybody, but a lot of people will have been in the depths of absolute agonizing despair, and we've come through, and we can do it again. And as we draw to a close, one of the most profound things that, I'm coming back to the TED Talk, because truly it's so moving and so powerful. Like, one of the most profound things that, I'm giving it away a little bit, but just that it's the connection that we can have with other people. Really and truly, all the science plus all of our experience tells us that it's the people that really make the difference for us. And the more we brace and protect ourselves, the more we suffer and the less joy we have. And you shared a beautiful quote. You paraphrased the quote along the lines of, the more you protect yourself from the hard things in life, you're protecting yourself from the wonderful things in life. See, I'm paraphrasing
Yes.
your paraphrasing.
I love it. It's paraphrase inception.
Yes. So to finish up, because I know we could continue talking for a lot longer, and I'd dearly love to invite you to talk with me again.
Absolutely.
On the
Yeah, I could talk
podcast.
about there's so much, isn't there?
I
But
know.
yes.
I just wasn't sure whether or not to ask more about your experiences as a clown doctor or some of your shows and the way that you use humour and funny mummies. There's so much to talk about. But in the meantime, what would you like to share with our listeners before we talk about how people can connect with you? Is there sort of just an opportunity to sort of share any sort of parting profound advice for us all, please?
Oh gosh, the pressure. The pressure. I do not subscribe to the idea that everything happens for a reason, because I think that's really can be a very hurtful thing actually to say to somebody who's going through, the depths of awful life stuff or mental health stuff. However, I do think you can create purpose from anything if you choose to. And I think that's why we see people who've gone through unimaginable trauma and then that from that experience create something like, for instance, Daniel Morecambe's parents, what they've created to protect children, what other people have gone through horrible things and have created some sort of movement to stop that from happening again. I think that our worst moments and our greatest despair actually can not be for nothing if we choose to. So, for instance, whether that's like yourself, Jodie, like sharing the things that you've learned from your experience in their darkest moments and aspects, to use that to help other people. It's what I've said to my son as well, is you don't know, like these experiences, you might be able to help someone in such a unique way one day because you've gone through this, like you've walked this walk. You can help people in a way that no one else can. So I do believe that. So I think, if you can look for the good sides of it. I know that sounds so Pollyanna, but like even the fact I lost my mum, I'm grateful for not that she died. Of course, I wish she hadn't, but I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned from that, which is not to take life for granted, not to take people for granted, to say I love you, to apologize, to, make the most of this one life you've got. That's all because of what happened to me. So, I think if you can try to find some purpose, even if it might not be speaking on a stage or starting a movement, you don't have to do that, but like maybe it's being a really compassionate ear for someone one day because you understand what it is to suffer. We can create purpose out of our bad things.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I realise I really did put you on the spot. I do apologise. But
that's okay. I didn't want to be flippant.
You came through with the goods. No, look, I'm being silly, but what you've just said is really so very, very true, and it's a theme that's actually been coming up a little bit in the podcast. I spoke to Dr. Ellen Hendrickson. She spoke about her research in social anxiety, and she said research is me search. And the fella I spoke to, John Chalou, about school refusal. He was a school refuser, and here's me and here's you, and we are making meaning out of our profound challenges in our life. And like you say, that could be everything from being a listening ear to starting a movement. It can be anything in between. And there's just that it might not always be clear when it's happening, when you're going through it, when you're in the midst of it. It can just seem so difficult and so pointless. But on the other side, and there is always another side, we always do come through. It takes time. It can take a long time. But like you say, we can make some meaning from what we've been through, and it can make a difference for others. And in making a difference for others, we really help heal ourselves as well, don't we? We're making a difference for ourselves. So thank you, Jenny, so much. So how can people connect with you and join your beautiful group, Funny Mummies, and learn more about you and your wonderful, wonderful work?
So probably the easiest is my website, which is jennywynter.com, and Winter is with a Y, so Wynter. And that's got links to everywhere else you can find me on the socials. I'm on Facebook a lot because apparently I'm 1,000,000 years old. That's what my kids tell me. Facebook's for old people. Whatever. It was only invented 5 minutes ago. And then Funny Mummies is on Facebook as well. So, yeah, come and join the group. It's so fun. And the impact that's made has really blown my mind too. So, yeah, loving it.
Oh, that's so amazing. I will. I'll put all of those. And with respect to your incredible work and the series that you've developed and the shows that you've done, can I link people through to seeing you live on stage in action?
Absolutely.
Yes. So are they all linked off your website as well?
They should be, yes. So, yes, find me there or let me know and I can send you direct links.
Yes. And just know that if you're looking for somebody at your event as an MC, as a speaker, as a mental health advocate, Jenny's just amazing. And I really am so, honestly, from the day that we sat next to each other, we just introduced ourselves. Who would have thought that it'd bring us to where we are today? But that's the way the world works. And I'm so, so grateful for you and I'm grateful for your time. And I thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Jodie. You're a delight.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. And thank you for your company. Thank you for your time listening here today and joining Jenny and I for this conversation. I've so enjoyed talking with Jenny, and I just wanted to mention that if this conversation has brought up anything for you and you would like to reach out for some help, the number for Lifeline here in Australia is 13 11 14. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr. Jodie Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.